Good evening, Chicago. Welcome on in to another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. That was not how we wanted week one to go. We have to discuss the Bears' epic, disgusting, pathetic performance on the lakefront yesterday. What does it mean in the context of this coaching staff? What does it mean in the context of this regime? What does it mean in the context of this season? Lots to go over from that game yesterday. But we're not going to be talking just Bears today. The Cubs had themselves a very interesting week last week, a very back and forth, up and down week yesterday. We will discuss that. Plus, even though the Cubs are off today, there were a lot of roster moves today, some very big ones. We will discuss those, plus some other big happenings around the city. We had a jersey get retired. We've got a team clinching the playoffs. We got a lot of college scores to get caught up on. Lots to get through. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Let's go. And once again, hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Glad to be with you here tonight. Woof. Yeah, we have got a lot to get through, a lot to dissect from that display on the lakefront yesterday. Lots that we have to talk about, lots that we have to get through. I said last week here on this show that I kind of knew what the tone for today was going to be based on how the game went. We've got a lot that we've got to get through there. We're not going to be all Bears, though. We are going to talk Cubs as they get ready to take, I think I said they have the night off. No, they just have a very late start because they're out in Colorado taking on the Rockies tonight. So we've got some stuff to go over as they get ready for first pitch here in just about 35 minutes or so. We'll get you ready for that game and some roster moves, some big roster moves going on there with the Cubs going on tonight. And the week that was for them, very up and down, surprisingly. And then we've got some other stuff going on, too. We've got a playoff team in town. We have another jersey number that is getting retired in the city. And we're going to try to get caught up on all the college stuff that happened over the weekend. So lots to be getting through. But before we go any further, of course, we do want to acknowledge our sponsor here at IE Sports Radio, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on. Visit planetjerky.net to place your order, or you can follow them on social media at Planet Jerky. Send them a DM. Let them know that you've tried out their stuff. I can personally attend to the volcanic jalapeno flavor is very good. My wife would attend to the classic barbecue. She liked it so much. Basically, she opened the bag, tried some, let me have a handful, and then the rest of the bag disappeared and became property of her for the rest of the day or two that it was in the house before it disappeared. Once again, huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. IE Sports Radio is the home for this show. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with the shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each one of our shows, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the shop to check out the merchandise. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Ways that you can interact with the show tonight. Of course, if you are listening live on Spreaker, please hop on into the chat room. We can have some back and forth that way. Taryn Rodriguez is here. Larry B is here. My mother is here. I will get to those all in a minute. You can also follow this show on X or Twitter at IESRC, or you can follow along with me at Adam_Karnick. And I'll go ahead and address right there my voice. Yes, I do apologize for my voice sounding a bit raw. I will be taking a couple of breaks throughout, including right now, to parch my throat. So excuse me just a moment. Thank you. I apologize for that. Yes, it was a result of doing some screaming, though I don't know if I should say I'm proud of myself. I contained myself during the game yesterday about as well as I could. Then on my commute into work this morning, I finally I had to let it out. I had to just let out some primal frustration. Good evening, Mike. Yes, it is about to get toasty in here. I promised everybody before the show I'm going to try my best to not go full scorched earth here, but we are going to get very close. And so on my drive into work this morning, I finally just had to let out some frustration, and I let the Bears have it in my car on the way down to work. I just let them have it for a good solid couple of miles down the road, and as a result, my voice has been suffering a little bit all day as a result. So I do apologize for the condition of my voice. I will aim to do better next week so that I can still come across here on the air as well as I possibly can. That game was an embarrassment. There is no other way of describing it. That, from top to bottom, everything went wrong yesterday. The best description I heard of it was actually this morning on my way in. That looked like game 18 of last season, where the Bears were clearly the worst roster in the NFL. They were an island of misfit toys. They had nothing working, and all they had was a quarterback that could scramble and make some plays with his feet. But as soon as he let go of the ball, the defense could breathe a sigh of relief. That was what it looked like. They did nothing all offseason to prepare. It genuinely, the game plan seemed to be that simply the Packers were going to lose. That seemed to be the game plan. The game plan seemed to have nothing to do with actively trying to win the game. It was just sit back, try not to actively make a mistake, wait for the Packers to make mistakes, and then hope that that calculus comes out where you do just barely enough that you come out on top. And you know what? When you play to not lose the game, you fail to win the game. And that's what happened. They got curb stomped. They looked like that was a roster of backup XFL players that were just thrown together at the last second, and the coaches didn't realize they had a game to prepare for until Wednesday, and they didn't know who the opponent was going to be until the night before. Last season, we talked about how there was a level of understanding that you could have moral victories, that, okay, at the end of the day, this season is all about tearing everything down and starting over from scratch and building it back up. So in some ways, yesterday was the first opportunity to really evaluate this coaching staff and this front office, and they failed epically in every imaginable way. From the tight end sneak on the first third down of the season. I said it as soon as they called it. I don't care if that play works. Burn it. Destroy it. Exercise it from the playbook. I don't ever want to see a tight end sneak again for as long as I live in the NFL. Tell me, in what universe does it make sense to actively take the ball away from your best player in a meaningful down? I understand if you want to try to run a sneaky gadget on, say, 1st and 10 from midfield, or even 2nd and medium, or 2nd and short, you want to try to run a gadget play. That makes sense. But on 3rd down and a yard to go, I want the ball in Justin's hands. There is no excuse for not letting your quarterback, who is your best offensive weapon, not touch the ball on a 3rd down. And it went downhill from there. You then idiotically decided to go for it on 4th down instead of realizing that there's an entire 3 9/10 of a quarter left to go in this game, and there's just as much pressure on the other guys to show that they belong as on your guys that they belong. And instead, you decide to let your ego get the better of you, and you're going to go for it with your backup center that can't get a push and your backup left guard. Then let's talk about then the offensive game plan as a whole. Luke Getsy, what were you thinking? The game plan was to do nothing but laterals and bubble screens to the wide receivers. That play works if the defense doesn't know it's coming and if you block it up perfectly. But and I understand we want the ball, we want to give Justin some quick, easy throws to build his confidence up. And also, we can't block anything up front. So getting the ball out quickly allows our quarterback to stay upright. But here's the problem with doing nothing but lateral tosses to the outside. It requires the wide receiver to turn his back to the defense and be flat-footed while he then catches the ball and is able to survey the field, and then he has to establish where he's going to go. He is automatically at a disadvantage. So to base your entire offense around those types of throws, the defense is going to catch on and catch on quickly. And they did. And they began sitting on those routes and jumping those routes to a point where you were constantly behind the chains. And there was zero effort to push the ball downfield. Fields attempted 2 passes all game long that were longer than 15 yards in the air. That is completely unacceptable. You need to be attempting at least one of those per quarter, not twice a game. You need to keep a defense honest. So the game plan was atrocious. The play calling was miserable. DJ Moore was your biggest offensive acquisition of the entire offseason. He got 2 targets all game. They came on back-to-back plays in the second quarter. And you know what? They worked. He had 2 catches for 25 yards. Both of them went for first downs. And then you inexplicably forgot that he was on your team. And all those third downs that you got, you need to draw up some plays where it's, look, this is designed to go to Moore. This is designed to get to him. That, screw it. Our guy is better than their guy. We're going to make this play, get to him, and we're going to give it a chance to pick up the first down. Instead, you threw lateral screens behind the line when you have 12 yards to go, and you were praying that the defense was going to fall down and fart in their face, and somehow magically you'd get the first down. Burn that playbook. Never run it again. And while you're at it, for the love of all that is good and holy in football, install some slant plays. I understand that the offensive line cannot block. I understand that was the biggest priority offensively last offseason, and that you went out and drafted a rookie tackle in the first round. Great. You got a right guard in the offseason that apparently refuses to practice. And then you prayed that from there it would work. Well, it didn't work. So you've got an offensive line that can't block. So you want to get the ball out quickly. Use the slants. Here's why. Yes, you're still getting the ball out early, but then at least the receiver or the tight end or whomever it is has some forward momentum and is carrying them through the defense so that they aren't flat-footed when they caught the ball. That's how you turn a throw that is only 3 or 4 yards beyond the line of scrimmage into a gain of 10 or 12 yards by allowing them some momentum and some just basic inertia. Even if he gets hit right away and gets tackled, he at least then has the ability to fall forward to pick up a couple of yards. Defensively, what was the biggest problem the Bears had last season? They could not rush the quarterback. They could provide no pressure whatsoever. The leading sack, the player with the most sacks last season was Jaquan Brisker, the safety, who had 3.5. The Bears entered the offseason with the most money. They entered the offseason with the number 1 overall pick. And you have a coach that runs a style that is predicated upon the front 4 being able to generate a pass rush. I understand that you cannot fix all the problems in one offseason, but why were Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, I'm going to screw their names up all season, I apologize. Why were 2 linebackers your top priority and you didn't address pass rusher until 3 weeks before the season? Yannick Ngakoue was a fine signing, but if that's literally all you have, and it is all they have at pass rusher, you haven't solved the problem, and we saw it yesterday. The Bears managed 1 sack And that was because Jordan Love panicked and ran into Ngakoue. Otherwise, he was able to drop back, survey the field, have a cup of coffee, put his feet up, and then decide where he's going to throw. I truly do think the Bears secondary can be great. There's a debate in the NFL, kind of the chicken and the egg of what's more important, rushing the passer or defending the receivers. What causes what? The Bears are proof positive that you can have the best secondary in the world, and if your defense and if your front four cannot get home, the quarterback will be able to complete passes. Guys cannot defend forever. That's what we saw yesterday. And yet, the Bears refused to send extra rushers. They refused to blitz. They refused to dial up any kind of extra pressure. That it was purely and simply, we are going to trust our front four to get the job done. The Packers went 9 of 16 on third down yesterday. They converted third and short. They converted third and medium. They converted third and longer than 10 with regularity and with ease. Meanwhile, the Bears went 3 for 13 on third down, and 2 of those came after it was over. I know the final score really was 38-20. No, the final score of that game was 38-14 because once that pick six happened, it was over. The Packers knew it was over. They gave up, and it was simply let the clock run out. Just make sure they don't get a 70-yard bomb play. And you didn't get 2/3 of your third down conversions came after the game was effectively over and it was non-competitive anymore. That is totally unacceptable. How close have I come to scorched earth here? I feel like I'm getting close. At the same time, I can turn the heat up more if you really want me to. We came into this game with the mindset and the hopes that this was going to be a fresh start. That between Rodgers being gone, I'm enjoying the comments in the chat here. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm also doing my best to not swear. We came into this with the expectation and the hope that between Rodgers being gone, the Packers not doing a lot to upgrade their roster, another year of Fields with Getsy so that he could be in the second year of the same system, and the upgrades that they made on the roster, that this would look different, that this would be the beginning of the end of the Packers' utter and total domination of this so-called rivalry. This is only a rivalry in Chicago. In Green Bay, this is no longer a rivalry. It stopped being a rivalry 25 years ago when Brett Favre would routinely just wipe his butt with the Bears jerseys every week. Every year, where it would just be, oh, the Bears are on the schedule, there's a pair of wins. We don't have to worry about them. We have to worry about the Vikings. We have to worry about the Buccaneers. Oh, the Buccaneers aren't in the division anymore? Great. We only have to worry about the Minnesota Vikings. We can ignore the Bears. We can just chalk that up as 2 wins. Occasionally, the Bears steal one. In the last 10 years of this rivalry, the Bears have 3 wins. We were hoping that this would be different, and instead, it's the worst case scenario. It's proof that it doesn't matter who they have at quarterback. They're just going to own this thing. And Love played fine. Love played a winning game yesterday. He wasn't great. He wasn't amazing. He was a winning quarterback. And for a guy making his second start in the NFL, I don't know what else you could ask for, but simply a guy to play a winning brand of football, and that's what he did. And meanwhile, the Bears did everything wrong. And the come away from that game is, it just doesn't matter. They're not going to allow themselves to get back into this rivalry. That it's only ever going to be a win here, a win there. Just enough wins to be the exception to prove the rule. And I hate it. With a passion. I hate it. I hate seeing them come in and mop the floor with the Bears every single time it comes up. To address Mike's question here, is the problem coaching or the roster? I'm ready to bail completely on the coaching staff at this point. It is one game into their second year. This was game 18 of the Eberflus era. I am willing to completely bail on this coaching staff. There was no creativity. There was no imagination. All the guys who came in the offseason, all the key pieces, DJ Moore, Edwards, Edmonds, were total non-factors. It was as if they didn't know they had them. Claypool was a non-entity yesterday. He was worse than a non-entity. He was a problem. He was supposed to be blocking on a lot of those screens and laterals, and he couldn't even manage that. So there is a serious disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff. I don't know. I don't know where exactly it exists, but I feel like right now it's with the coaches. Because what I want to believe right now is that Eberflus pounded the table to Poles and said, these are the guys you got to get. These are the guys. You got to go get me these linebackers. I got to have these linebackers. And he was, okay, coach, I'll go get you those linebackers. I'll go get you this. I'll go get you these run-stuffing defensive tackles who haven't played the positions we're asking them to play. But I'll go get these guys for you. I'll go get this cornerback so that we can have a really strong secondary. I'll go get you what you want, coach. You tell me what you make out the shopping list and I'll go get it. I'll run to the store. So, to me, the problem exists in the coaching staff. It's crazy to think, because you could argue that we're really only one game into really studying the Eberflus regime. I'm ready to can the lot of them. Eberflus, Alan Williams, Luke Getsy. I'm ready to can them all. I'm ready to move on from all of them, because everything that didn't work a year ago, they brought back and ran yesterday and had the same results. Nothing changed. Oh, apparently Aaron Rodgers is already injured. Well, that makes me feel mildly better. I would love for that to be the case. But the tuna approach? All right, Mike Pat saying I have the tuna approach to the Bears coaching staff. Explain that one to me, Mr. Pat. I don't quite get that. I think I know what you're going at, but explain that one a little bit for me here. One final thought and then we're gonna turn the page here on. Okay, just straight out can them. Okay, all right, just can them all. I'm perfectly fine with that. One last thought here before we turn the page. I am still very much in Justin Fields' corner. I very much like Justin Fields. I am a fan of Justin Fields. I still believe that he can absolutely be the guy, that he can be a stud quarterback in the NFL. I still truly, wholeheartedly believe that. My fear, what's starting to creep in, is that what's going to have to happen is he's going to need a fresh start. That this coaching staff is coaching him to play scared, is coaching him in such a way that they want him to be scared of making a mistake. I know that this is very grim for only one game into the season, but yesterday was extremely disconcerting. It reminded me way too much of the Mark Trestman era, the second season of the Mark Trestman era, where the Bears were literally a laughing stock in the NFL. I guested yesterday on Big Cheese Sports with Bernie Bango. I guested with him yesterday doing a little bit of a preview, and I commented how the Soldier Field crowd will turn on the Bears very quickly if things don't go well. They turned on them in the second quarter. They already started to boo, and by the third quarter, it was a deafening chorus of boos. Bears fans as a whole will give you a shot. Bears fans want you to succeed. But once you lose them, it is very hard to get them back. I fear we have hit that point. All right, we are going to take a break. And then on the flip side of this, we're going to talk some baseball. The Cubs are getting ready to have a new series out in Colorado. First pitch is here in about 5 minutes. We will talk about that a little bit, and we will also look at the week that was for them and some of the news that they had going on throughout the day today. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Down! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
IE Sports Radio fans, it's your boy, the SoCal Saint, the host of the premier professional wrestling podcast online today, the IE Elite Wrestling Show. If you're a fan and have a passion for the world of professional wrestling, this is the show for you. I take you inside the ropes with all the athleticism, high-flying, and hard-hitting action, and then we take it backstage with all the backstage drama and backstabbing that goes on in the world of professional wrestling today. If something's going on in the world of professional wrestling, rest assured, the SoCal Saint knows what's going on, and he's going to let you know too. If you're a fan, check us out every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on IE Sports Radio. The IE Elite Wrestling Show, your direct feed for all that is professional wrestling, on the only network that is your direct feed for all that is sports. Check us out.
From Russell's return to great division rivalries to young quarterback battles, what better way to wind down the first day of the new work week than with USRN's Monday Night Football? Season premieres September 12th on USRN.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick here with you for about another 20 minutes or so before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point, as he will be getting us caught up on everything going on in the world of volleyball. The NCAA volleyball season is underway. I know the Loyola teams have been up to some stuff, and Taryn does an amazing job keeping us caught up on everything going on in the world of volleyball. I wanted to, in as much an effort to calm myself down, I want to flip the script a little bit and turn the page on the Bears. And so let's talk some baseball. The White Sox have mercifully been eliminated last week. Thank goodness they're done. Stick a fork in them, they're done. The Cubs had themselves a very strange week last week. On the one hand, they swept the Giants, a 3-game sweep of the San Francisco Giants in Wrigley Field. Outstanding job, well done. They then had a chance to really cement their spot as a playoff-bound team with a 4-game series at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks. A chance to... The Diamondbacks came in as a very, very, very cluttered team in for the final wild card spot. there still is quite a bit of clutter in the National League for the final spot. You've got 4 teams all within a game and a half of each other: Arizona, Miami, San Francisco, and Cincinnati, all within a game and a half each other, all within 2 games of each other in the loss column. And the Diamondbacks came in and took 3 of 4 from the Cubs. And that was with, you had Justin Steele pitch in one of the games that they lost. So a very up and down week for the Cubs. They had a chance to really put the Diamondbacks away and really knock that magic number down and possibly even overtake Philly for the top wild card spot in the National League, so that they'd be in a position where they could actually host a wild card series instead of being on the road. Now, as it sits right now, they're only a game and a half back of Philly. They're 2 games back in the loss column, but you're running out of days here at this point. You've only got a couple of weeks left in the calendar. You can't afford to be dropping these series. They start one tonight against the Rockies. They're actually first pitch. It is underway. They are underway in Colorado right now. And there's some new faces in the Cubs lineup. On the bad side, Adbert Alzolay is on the 15-day injured list as of today. He's got a forearm strain, so Michael Fulmer has been activated to take his spot. This is quite possibly the worst time in the season to be losing your closer, a guy who has blossomed into that closer role. He's got a 2.7 ERA, a whip of just over 1, 66 strikeouts in 63 innings, has really, really, really blossomed this year. 20 saves and 23 chances since mid-June, 22 saves overall on the year. You hate to lose him for any length of time. And 15 days, and that's effectively, that takes you pretty darn close to the end of the season at this point. The Cubs only have, as I try to do some back-of-the-napkin math here really fast, they've played 144 games. They've only got 18 games left to go in the season. They've only got a couple of off days left. They do have one this Thursday. So, but still, you're talking Alzolay, he might not be back until that final series against the Brewers. And in the meantime, you've got another series with the Diamondbacks coming up. You've got a series with the Braves coming up. And then, of course, that series with the Brewers. Unfortunately, Mike, the Cubs do not play the Rays. And if the White Sox are playing the Rays, that's just no hope to you. That's no help to you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know the Orioles could definitely use an assist there, but do not look to Chicago teams for any help there. The Cubs don't play them, and even if the White Sox do, that's 3 wins for Tampa Bay, guaranteed. So, horrible time to be losing your closer, but on the flip side, there's a new guy on the bench. He's not in the lineup tonight, but I imagine he'll probably crack the lineup tomorrow night in Colorado. Pete Crow Armstrong, the 21-year-old phenom center field grade A prospect, 15th overall prospect according to ESPN, has been brought up. He had an OPS of 876 this year between AA and AAA. He had 20 home runs and 37 stolen bases. There, I got to take out a little bit of frustration on a fly that managed to make its way into the studio. So there, that felt better. He is a defensive whiz in center field, which is great because, that stadium there in Colorado is massive. You need somebody that can cover all that ground. You've got a chance to see what the future might look like at center field. And in the meantime, he can just give you a little bit of a surge as you're getting ready to make this playoff push. So going to be very exciting to see what PCA, what Pete Crow Armstrong is going to do for the Cubs now that he's been called up, now that he's there. He's not in the lineup tonight, not in the lineup tonight as they're taking on the Rockies, but I would absolutely expect him to be in the lineup tomorrow in that game. And I'm sure we'll see him this weekend some in Arizona as they take on the Diamondbacks. So an interesting week overall for the Cubs. And now if I'm doing my math right, their magic number's down to 17. So they've still, and with 18 games left to go, they're still totally in control of their own destiny. They don't need assistance right now. If you're looking around then on what other games you want to be paying attention to if you're a Cubs fan, you want to be paying attention to the Phillies. Somehow are beating the Braves. They need to knock that off right now in the second half of a double, and apparently the second half of a doubleheader. The Braves did take the first game of the doubleheader, so that's good there for the Cubs. But the Phillies are currently up on that one 7-5. Got to turn that one around if you're one of the Cubs. You want the Braves to turn that one around. And then the Brewers are playing the Marlins. Now this one's a little conflicting because of course you want both those teams to lose. So what you're hoping for in this series, the Marlins and the Brewers, you're just kind of hoping that they split that one as best as they possibly can. Is that a 3? That is a 4-game series. So you hope that one they split that one. That if the Brewers do win tonight, that does knock a number off of the Cubs' magic number. That would drop it down, but of course then it comes at the expense of the Brewers remaining 3 games in front of you for the division. So those are the other ones to keep an eye on tonight as well. Those are all also conveniently enough other IE Sports Radio hosts shows. You have Peachtree Sports covering the Braves. They normally are on Saturdays. They went last night, recapped the Falcons win there. The Phillies, of course, you heard the drop there during the break. Cash and Chris talking all things Phillies on Philly Sports Talk. And then the Brewers, of course, Big Cheese with Bernie Bango on Sunday afternoons at noon. I'm sorry, Peach Empire Sports. Thank you, Taryn. I'm sorry. I apologize for getting the name wrong there. I apologize. Brewers, of course, Big Cheese Sports with Bernie Bango on Sundays. And then the Marlins are also covered on IE Sports Radio as well. That is Magic City Scoreboard. You can hear that on Thursday evenings at 6:00 right here on IE Sports Radio. So ways to keep up with all of those. All right. We are going to transition a little bit. Normally I would take a break right here, but with only a few minutes left before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez, I will just stay put right here, but we will change gears and we will take a hard shift here. Want to do a roundup of some things all around the city. A little bit of a college football scoreboard wrap-up for you. Some scores from the weekend that was for our local teams. Of course, Illinois lost against Kansas on Friday night to kick off week 2, 34-23. Kansas getting the victory there pretty single-handedly. It was 28-7 at the half. Illinois had to squeak out a win in week 1, followed that up with a less than impressive performance in week 2. There with a non-conference loss to Kansas. Northwestern, on the other hand, managed to have a rebound in the other direction. The Wildcats got their first win of the season on Saturday in the home opener against University of Texas El Paso, absolutely taking it to UTEP 38-7. 38 unanswered points from Northwestern in that one. So the Wildcats, 391 total yards of offense, 3 takeaways on defense in getting the victory there. So a good win for the Wildcats, their first win in the post-Coach Fitzgerald era. Of course, they're working their way through all the ugliness that was their offseason. Northern Illinois had a surprising loss this weekend. Southern Illinois University, FCS, coming up with the big win in that one over the weekend over Northern Illinois. I'm trying to get the score pulled up while I talk about it. 14-11, a low scoring game in that one. But Southern Illinois pulling off the upset and holding off a rally from Northern Illinois to take the win in that one. So Southern Illinois improves to 2-0 on the year, while Northern falls to 1-1. Another couple of scores here, real quick, and then I want to get to just a couple of quick announcements before we turn things over. We had also in the Division III realm, we had Aurora taking out Franklin 45-30. Aurora, the number 20 team in Division III, beat out Franklin 45-30. And then my alma mater, of course, I always want to bring them up, even though it's usually not the best of results. Concordia University last week, it could have been better. Could have certainly been better, but that's how it is with them. I want to get the score. I want to get the score right here, and I apologize as I'm failing to get the scores up here. Concordia fell to OBEF 37-35. The Yeoman of Oberlin College in Ohio. So Concordia falls to 0-2 on the season there. And then a couple of other news and notes as we get ready to sign off here and turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez of Set Point. Some Blackhawks news from over the weekend. Chris Chelios got his sweater number 7 retired. It is headed to the rafters in United Center, and he found out during a Pearl Jam concert that was going on at United Center. They stopped the show. Eddie Vedder, then came up and got to inform Chelios that his sweater number was being retired. So, congratulations to Chris Chelios on getting his number retired with the Chicago Blackhawks. And then there is going to be some postseason action here in Chicago in the WNBA. The Sky won their final 2 games of the season. Not the best season overall for the Sky, of course. 18-22 overall. James Wade left partway through the season, but ultimately they do manage to make the playoffs, winning their final 2 games. When they beat the Lynx, their second to last game of the season, that was when they officially clinched a postseason spot, and then they topped that off by beating the Connecticut Sun yesterday in overtime. So the Sky will be participating in the WNBA playoffs as the 8th seed. They also, yesterday, it was announced that Kalia Copper signed a 2-year extension with the club. So she is now with the Chicago Sky through the 2024-2025 season. She will be with the Chicago Sky. She was a pending free agent, so they got her locked up before she would hit free agency. She decided not to test free agency. And now the Sky enter the playoffs. They will be the 8th seed in the WNBA playoffs. That means they get to take on the Las Vegas Aces. If you want to hear about the Aces, tune into Cale Henderson and Sin City Sports tomorrow. Suffice to say, they're good. The Aces are 34-6 on the season. They are prohibitive favorites to face off against the New York Liberty in the WNBA Finals. So probably this is as far as it will go for the Sky, but we'll keep an eye on them and we'll see. You never know what could happen. Vegas, surprises could happen. Not likely, but you never know. If nothing else, it'll be fun to see the Aces for the next two games at least, and get to see Candace Parker again for at least the next 2 games. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Thank you to Premium Jerky, to our sponsor tonight, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Check them out, planetjerky.net. It is good stuff. You definitely want to check them out. It is very tasty, very good. I do highly recommend them. Thank you to Larry B and all the hard work you do behind the scenes here at IE Sports Radio, sir, and for jumping in the chat room for a little bit tonight. Your hard work is not unnoticed. Thank you to everybody that hung out in the chat room. Taryn, Larry, Kathy, Mike Pat, Mike C. Thank you all, gentlemen, for hanging out with us tonight. Finally, thank you, the listener, for being here tonight. Whether you were listening live on Monday night here on the Spreaker app, or you were listening later on as a podcast, whether it was on Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever your medium. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming week after week. Let people know what you think of the show. Let me know what you think of the show. Hit me up at Adam_Karnick on X, or at IESRC on X. Let me know what you think of the show. Next week, we'll be breaking down Bears, Bucks, and anything else. Coming up next, it's Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point. Until then, bear down. Have a good night.